So if you're like me, then you have hundreds and hundreds of games in your Steam library, and you probably haven't even played most of them. I have over 600 games in the library, and I've played probably 100, if that. But last weekend, OpenSauce invited me to hang out at the event, and they partnered with Off-Brand to do a showcase called Secret Sauce, and they showcased over 40 games. And while I shouldn't be adding more games to my backlog, I went through and I found that 27 of the games had demos. And the cool thing about demos is it gives you an actual feel and gameplay of what you might be getting into. I guess you could kind of do that with the refund option on Steam, but there's only so many times you can do it. But I spent the last 30 hours or so over the last couple days playing every single one of these. I gave each one at least an hour or until I finished the demo, and I got a pretty good idea of what I know I want to buy and what I might be looking out for. So, to get us started, we have multiple categories, not using the double S, but S means absolutely gonna buy it no matter what. One of the best games I've ever played, even if I only spent an hour or less on the game. A tier means I'm 90% sure I'm gonna buy it unless it's outrageously priced or something, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get this game. B, I had a lot of fun, and if the pricing seems okay, I most likely get it, but I'm still unsure. There's a few things that I maybe didn't like, and if I see that they work on them in the future, then I'll get it. D tier, it was a game. I had a decent time. It was okay. I'm most likely not going to get it. D tier, still a game. Absolutely not getting it, whatever, no matter what it's worth, but it was playable. It was fine. And F tier, just terrible. I did not have fun. I did not enjoy it. I don't care if it's free. I am never playing it ever again. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, we're going to start at the bottom of the tier with the F tiers. First on the list, we have what is called Future Vibe Check. This game is, in brief, it's a story game, it's an automation game, and pretty much you're some entity or something, and you're destined to make music and just build things for the void. And at first, I thought it was pretty cool. You get a couple different instruments, you get kicks and hi hats or whatever, strings, drums, all these different instruments. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be really cool. I'm gonna make music. It's gonna be automation. It's all gonna just keep flowing, kind of like I was expecting My Singing Monster, something like that. But the tutorial was incredibly confusing. There was like 12 different things happening, a bunch of different resources and other stuff you had to do, trying to manage the way certain things ran. And I don't know, it was way too much going on. I've played management and resource kind of games like this before, and I kind of like them. They're not my favorite genre, but this one was just terrible. I hate the way they did it. And hopefully they fix it. They make it a lot more user friendly in the future so that it doesn't flop. But I could not play it. I did not like it at all. Next up we have the Lacerator. This is like a take on Resident Evil 1 or 2, like the old ones. And kind of you're this guy who gets trapped somewhere, and basically you're trying to escape, and if you get injured then your arm can get cut off or your leg get cut off according to the trailer, and you can replace it with like weapons or something, and then there's very basic inventory management. But this one was just really bad. Like I It's supposed to have bad graphics, but it's just they look terrible. The audio I did not like at all. The story, nothing aside from just being in a dungeon and then you escape and then that's basically it. And the combat was really bad. I didn't like the controls, the camera, just everything about this game. I did not like. It seemed like a very poorly made kind of just whatever, just throw anything and just give it a very basic baseline. And I am not playing this game. I don't recommend you play this game either. And now we're moving up to D tier. First one, which I actually was kind of excited for, is Gigasword. So the way this game was explained to me at the place was that you have a sword which is super heavy, but that's the way you deal damage, obviously. And then if you drop your sword, you're actually a lot more nimble. You can jump higher, you can access other areas, and so it's a puzzle sort of style type thing where you have to see when you can use your sword, when you can't use your sword, when to leave it, drop it, and you're vulnerable if you don't have it. But it seemed so like it was missing a lot, and I don't know. It seems like there's a decent amount of stuff here in the trailer, but playing the game, it didn't feel fun. It was super like plain, and I was expecting a lot more. And the puzzle seemed really easy, and the combat really easy. Like there was no challenge, nothing exciting about the game. So I was pretty disappointed because I was looking forward to this one. Next up on D, we got Curiosmos. So Curiosmos is like a space building, or like you're building a solar system, and pretty much you start with the sun, and then you build their first planet, and then you build another planet, and then there's like the asteroid belt, and you find life in certain areas. You can find water. You can create these volcanoes. You have rovers and other little satellites that help you transfer things. You can throw animals and this and that in the trailer. But it seemed like it seemed promising, but the way it's done, it's super unpolished right now in the demo. So a lot of this review might be, take it with a grain of salt. These are demos, but they are expected to release pretty soon. So I feel like they should be done a little better. But like the the gravity and the physics on this, it made it a little hard to play because if you move the camera a tiny bit, or if you throw something slightly too off, slightly too far to the side, it's just gone forever because there's no edge cap, or at least I didn't find. When I scrolled like 4 different screens, maybe it's the fifth screen, but I scrolled like 4 or 5 different screens, and there was no end. So you can technically just send something, which it was kind of cool because space and it's endless, but then that's too much, and then it's just you get lost forever, and then I don't know, it just almost interesting concept. I just don't think it was executed well. And then next up we've got Demon Bluff, which is this game. I like card games. I like roguelikes and deck builders and other stuff like that. And that's what I kind of thought this was, but this is more of a werewolf sort of game where you have to find werewolf. There's different characters, they do different things, they have different traits, people. Some tell you who is a liar, others tell you who is evil next to them, but then there's like demons and stuff who lie, so they'll actually disguise themselves as a unit, but then lie, so tell you the opposite. You have to deduce and see who are the demons and get rid of them from the town. And it was fun for about 5-10 minutes, or I guess 20 minutes, but then it kind of gets repetitive, and there's no story to it. There's no other depth. They introduce more characters and stuff, but it just it got pretty old and pretty stale pretty quickly. I said pretty 3 times, but this game kind of let me down. Next up, we've got Lost Twins 2. And Lost Twins 2, I really like the design and the animation, but there's absolutely zero story to the game. You just start and it throws you into these puzzles, and you control 2 different characters and being in 2 different places. And I like the mechanic because you move your here you move your location around and you connect to another entry point or something. But puzzles are all pretty simple, pretty easy to figure out. Again, it's just a demo, so they're probably not throwing all the complicated stuff, but it didn't really seem very interesting. Again, zero story whatsoever. The only thing I really liked was the animation and the graphics, but I don't think that's enough for me to want to buy it or give it a higher rating. And finally, on D tier, we have Bite Bond. This game is meant to be played with another person, and the intro, which starts like that, was kind of cool because you press play game and then it starts glitching out. I honestly thought it was something wrong with my computer for a second, and then I realized it was part of the game. But you control 2 of these little robot, I guess they're programs or something, and you're supposed to play with another person because instead of having a single player mode similar to like Portal or something where you just kind of they're different puzzles made for a single person. You still have to control both of them with the C stick. You don't get a computer. It's not meant for one person, so it was a little weird trying to control both. Also, when you separate from somebody, the camera like sort of does a split thing, and I don't know why or the way it was done, but like it would hurt my head. It was weird. I don't understand why it was done in a certain way or why it was messing with my eyes or something. But it seems like a very generic old like flash game or something. It was very little depth. All the puzzles were super easy. There was one that gave me a little bit of trouble, but aside from that, pretty generic, pretty simple, easy to solve. And again, no story. There's a virus, and you're taking out the virus. I guess that's pretty much it. And I just wasn't impressed. And that moves us up to C tier, which is where the majority of the games were. First one being Angeline Era. And this game looks pretty interesting because it's like the Ocarina of Time. I was gonna say Wind Waker. Majora's Mask sort of style, very early, low poly, and it seemed pretty fun at first, but then it kind of just started getting repetitive again, and it was fun enough for me to get through most of or the whole demo, but their weapon system was kind of weird. You had like 5 different weapons for some reason. They all did the exact same thing, except for one which had like pierce damage, and I didn't really understand the story. I don't know what I was supposed to be doing, and then it just kind of ends. You get to this guy with the pot, and then he says, "Oh, you don't like my pots? You don't like the demo? I'm gonna kill you," and then you die. Um, and that was really it. It played, and it was a little funner than the D tier ones, but overall, all these C tiers are kind of just alright. And then next up, we got Berserk Bits. And this one, I'm gonna be honest, this one I thought was gonna be at the top of my list. This one, it looks like Mega Man Battle Network, which was super fun when I played it way back in the day. It's pretty much laid out the exact same way. It's got the same graphics, the little tier system, but it's an idle RPG. And I don't mind idle incremental games, but this one is mostly it generates these little windows on your desktop, and it's really just an idle game. There's no active element, there's no clicking, there's no anything. You can buy stuff and customize right here where it says customize your home or whatever, but overall, like, you don't do anything. You just wait and you let it go by. So it's not really a game, it's a widget on your computer, which, you know, if you do a lot of work from home, if you just like to see it progress, maybe it could be better, maybe you'll like it. But I was hoping for actual games and stuff and not just widgets that you wait for, and that's all this was. I didn't feel like I did anything at all. And honestly, I got bored after like 10-15 minutes. I gave it time to progress. I went through like 2 different stages. I unlocked some more robots, but really nothing was going on. And next up, we got Bonnie Bear Saves Frog Time. So this is a puzzle game, puzzle strategy game, and pretty much you're just following this bear, and it's their birthday, and you're just encountering different NPCs and stuff. It's a lot more story driven than some of the other games, which it was kind of fun, but then there's this like, weird sort of forced humor that was funny 2-3 times, but for the most part, it was just kind of weird. And I feel like they just forced it way too much, and they were trying too hard, basically. And then you play Frog Time, which is the whole strategy. That's the main gameplay, or that's the only gameplay, really. And pretty much you get your frogs to the other side. Frogs do different things, which is where the strategy comes in, and it was kind of fun. But then once you sort of understand what frogs do what, and you build a team, you can kind of just beat anyone with the same general strategy. So at least here in the demo, maybe it gets a lot deeper in the actual game, but I don't know. It fell a little flat. Art style is fine, and also audio mixing was a little weird. I'm not like a super audio guy, but some things were just way louder than everything else for no reason, like that blue fish in the background. He would just yell for no reason, and I kind of hate when games do that because it's hard to balance the audio. And next up, we got Gemporium. This is another game that the moment it started, I thought it was going to be amazing. I thought it was going to be super cool. This is kind of like I think it's Diamond and Pearl from Pokemon, where you would explore things in the mines and you have to uncover and basically dig out these gems, and then you have to polish them. You break off the dirt, polish them, sell them, and different people, different customers like different gems, and so they give you more money, or they dislike certain gems, you sell them for less. And then there's upgrades and other stuff you can do, and then pretty much you have 30 days to pay off $1 million loan that your grandma sent you, or she accumulated, and she gave you this gem shop. But a short demo trailer, but it honestly got quick super fast. It's the same day, same loop every single day, just you spend a little more time in the mine, or you have a bigger backpack so you get a few more gems, but it's the exact same loop over and over again. And it was super fun for 30 minutes, and then it just kind of super fell off. So I don't think I'd play this one again, but it was fun for what it was. And those 30 minutes basically. And after that, we got this game called Mars Attracts. And this one I thought was pretty clever. It's a play on Mars Attacks, and I thought this was like a third-party spin-off sort of thing, but it's apparently made from the people who actually did Mars Attacks, and so they have all the rights and stuff. So what you do is you have a theme park that you need to run, and you bring humans, and they're the attractions, and there's other rides and other stuff. But I feel like they kind of the human aspect, capturing them and having them escape, because there's a chance for them to escape and run amok on your park and just like destroy things. I feel like that kind of added a little too much to the game, because then you have to employ certain things and find units, security, and then you have like a SWAT team, and then you have to wait for the expeditions to go find more humans, and you have to use humans as resources. And I don't know, it felt like a lot of waiting, especially when you didn't have enough humans to do a certain thing, and then you have to wait again for research points that you would do when you conduct research on humans. And it just felt like a lot of waiting. Tycoon games, you kind of have to wait and see what happens anyways, but this one, it felt like you have to wait in order to do something, in order to wait in order to see something. So if you like tycoon and builder games, you might like this one a little more than I did, but personally I didn't think it was all that great. And then after that, we've got Modulus. And this is like Factorio, one of those management builder automation games. And as you can see here, it goes super crazy. And this game was pretty fun to start, because, you know, you make your treadmills, you put them together, you find optimal paths, and you can move them. I like the way that it's easy to actually reposition and move and destroy and build different buildings and objects. It's not a chore to do that part. But when it started asking me for different things, because at some point it starts asking you for ways to do things like put together, but then you have to die apart, and then you have to split apart, and then you have to come back and rejoin it, and then split it again, and then color it and split it and join it. And it's just a ton of steps that I felt like was just way too much work. And while if you like efficiency and doing the stuff, which I do, but I just feel like this one, with how customizable and like meticulous you can split your little blocks, because every block is on a 4x4 cube, the things that they were asking me to make just felt like way too much, and it felt like too much work, and I didn't feel like doing it anymore, and it stopped being fun. But the basic shapes were pretty fun. I guess I'm just dumb. And then we have Neon Inferno. This one was another one that I thought was really cool and interesting at first, but then it kind of just started getting simple, and it was too short, and it was a little boring. There wasn't really much of a story. But the way it works is kind of like Metal Slug. You have your 2D side scroller sort of thing, but then you can also shoot in the background, like those arcade games where you have the little gun and you shoot in the background. You have that little bullseye, whatever it's called, crosshair. And but the thing is, the game's super easy. All you have to do is run in one direction. Everything dies in like one hit. You just keep spamming square or whatever the shoot button is. Everything dies, and then you just kind of aim in the background. You hide. All the projectiles are super slow, and yeah, the story is you're like a hitman for the Yakuza. So pretty generic. And while I liked the art style and the way it moved and the way it looked, the gameplay itself and just the overall, again the story, just kind of boring. It got old pretty quick. Maybe, and there was only one mission which took me about, I think, 10-15 minutes to get through, and then that was a whole demo. And so I felt like I wasn't giving much. And then we have The Art of Reflection. And this was another game. I like puzzle games. I like having to think about things. This was another one I was pretty excited for, and I thought I was gonna like this one a lot more. But while it did have some, uh, like some sections were a lot harder. Specifically, there was one puzzle that took me a while to get through. It all is pretty much the same thing. You have these little balls that you teleport to, and then you use the mirrors to go into different like flip versions of a certain universe, I guess. But it seems pretty repetitive, and I felt like I didn't really get anything new after the first two puzzles. And there was also no story. I don't know what's going on. You're just in this place and you're doing puzzles, and that's it. And after that, we got this one called The Royal Writ. This one almost had me, but as the game went on, they started just doing these random like behind this. It felt like behind the scenes, but these random like mechanics and triggers that I just didn't understand what was going on. But the way it works is kind of like Balatro, where you have cards that do base damage and others that are multipliers, and so you're supposed to do damage to the enemy, and you have a certain amount of turns before you get to the end of the row, and then your units die, and then you're out of those cards. So your deck is much more limited than other deck builders and roguelikes and stuff. And so I thought it was cool, especially because there's different sort of animals and traits and things that you could build off of. Like I was doing an ant build, but yeah, I don't know. I started getting towards the end of the game, and my units they would just die for no reason, like in the middle or in the beginning, and I didn't know what was going on. It didn't explain anything, and honestly, that for that reason, I didn't like it anymore. I don't know why they did the way they did. I don't know why they did the things they did in that certain way, but I thought the art was cool, and there's no real story aside from you're a king and you want to hold power over these people, so you're sending your army to different people and killing them, I guess. But that's pretty much it. So no real story, and it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. And then we got Verho, which this game kind of started to pull me in, but then as I played more and more, started to push me away. Basically, there's this town that's people are dying. If you see their face, you die. So people started wearing masks, and you journey to this town, I guess, trying to figure out what it is. And the gameplay, it kind of plays like Skyrim, where you have different weapons, you have magic, you have spells, you have items to heal you. I thought it was a little more Souls-like, but it's more Skyrim-like. And so the combat was pretty easy, but one of the main things that like drew me away from this game was the way it actually plays and the physics and the hitboxes. There was a ton of times where I would clearly hit the enemy and they would even do like a particle effect or like a noise animation or whatever, and the health bar would just not move. So I would be stuck hitting the same thing over and over again, not dealing any damage. So if they can fix their health, I mean, if they can fix the hitboxes and the way it moves, and it's not super expensive, then I'd probably still get it. Because this was probably one of the funner ones on C tier. And for the final game on C tier, we have Whisper Mountain Outbreak. Now this game is like a pixel art sort of thing. I'm assuming this is well, I was gonna say SCP, but this is more just zombies. There's outbreaks, and aside from that, I guess you're part of a containment unit. But aside from that, I don't know any of the story. Pretty much, there's an outbreak on this mountain, and you play as a character or these characters that containing it. But the way it works is you have to drive into different areas and you have to find the objective, which the objectives that I saw in the demo were find and extract. And so you go around and enemies spawn, you have melee weapons, you have guns and stuff that you find. But it feels like a mobile game. And also, I hate the way that the inventory is done. You can only hold 6 things in your inventory, and a gun is one of them. Or, like, guns and ammo are separate, those take up different inventories. Healing is separate, that takes up a space. And, um, key items also take up space. And, like, everything that you pick up takes up space. So, if the game or if the map is slightly big, then you have to do a ton of backtracking because you have to drop something somewhere and they have to run back for it, come back for it again, go across the other side of the map. And I think that what they should have done is instead of extracting, because also they start doing hordes and the zombies aren't even that hard, but it's just kind of they get annoying because there's a lot of them and you just have to kill them. But what they should have done is give it a different type of story and you explore different areas and you just you uncover notes or texts or something and uncover the story that way, and then you do these little puzzles and side things by finding the key items and opening doors and finding loot and other stuff. But I just don't like the direction they went in because it feels like you're just running and grabbing something, leaving, and then that's it. And now we're moving up to B tier, which are the games that I might probably get, most likely, depending on the price. First of all is Arsonite. So if you've ever played Inscription, this is pretty much like that. I don't know how far the story goes because again it's the demo, but if it's anything like Inscription and the story just evolves into this whole thing, then I would really want to get this game. But the way it works is basically, and I think this is the multiplayer. I only play the single player because, you know, single player. But there's a deck of cards, and then you take turns burning cards, and you're pretty much just spreading a wildfire. But then there's redo turns or replays, which is a little turn, and then which means you have to uncover another burn. Or there's items, and it kind of works with a double down gambling feature. So this game is super heavily reliant on luck, which is kind of the reason I didn't want to put it in A. But because of the luck aspect, you can double down and you can get more items, or you can bust, not get an item, and then you have to go again, burn another card. And if you burn your watchtower, then you end up losing, and you just take turns back and forth with the NPC until one of you burns their watchtower. And it's honestly pretty fun. I feel like there's different ways to approach the game, different strategies, and I want to see what it turns into. And then after that, we got Battlesuit Aces. This one actually has a little more story to it. Pretty much, there's this infected group of aliens or something coming after this other group of alien species that you end up finding in a cave, which is that one, Blue Cell, or whatever it's called. And you are tasked with helping your people, and you control this thing. And the way the game works is it's a card game, 5v5 type thing, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess it would say. You have your health at the top, and then the cards cover your health, and if you attack a space directly, then you take damage. But there's different builds and different synergies. There's 3 different colors of mana, and there's like basic units. There's what are they called, other mechs and stuff that you can have on your team, and you can change the way that the cards are. There's upgrades for the cards, and you can do like all red, all blue. You can mix the colors. You have different mana like capabilities and stuff. And I just think there's a lot of customization and ways to explore. And the story was decent enough. You start meeting other NPCs, like these guys are mechanics and stuff, and it didn't go super far deep, but I think for what it was in the beginning, I think it was pretty fun. And then after that, we got this game called Demon Tides. And if I'm being honest, this game was probably one of the ones that I thought I was going to hate and that was just going to suck. But the way it works is it's kind of like Mario Odyssey, where there's a lot of different movement text and stuff, and there's a lot of exploration. There's like coins that you have to find, and artifacts and all the other things, are random NPCs hidden in different sections. And you have upgrades that you can do, passive upgrades, active upgrades. There's different clothes that you can find. And I didn't even, in the hour that I was playing, I didn't even get to explore the whole section that is allowed. I got maybe a third of the way through, and there was still way more to do. And again, that's only the demo section. So who knows how expansive the full game is. The only thing is I didn't put it in A tier because the movement is still a little wonky and the camera is a little weird, and so that threw me off a lot of times. But it was still, the movement is smooth, the camera is weird, and so because of that, I do hope that they sort of fix the tracking with the camera a little more. But I like the exploration and the freedom that you get from exploring and the open world aspect, and I'm looking forward to this one. And then we've got this game called Montabi. And this is another sort of card builder, roguelike battler type thing, a little like Slay the Spire, I guess. And I thought in the beginning, I thought I was gonna like it more because you have these different creatures that you fight and then you can capture. But as you progress, it kind of like jumps in difficulty like crazy. I was able to make it to the final boss, but then they did this one attack and kind of just wiped my team. But even at the state that it's in, I would like it a lot more if you could customize who gets to be on the actual field. Because here in the center, that's like your trainer, they have to be on the field at all times. And I honestly didn't like that. I think they should remove the trainer, and because the trainer has specific actions which they help obviously, but they're not that great. And I feel like you should be given one or maybe two of those actions per turn to use outside of your your team member, your fighter monster guys, and then that will give you a little bit of strategy and movement and stuff that you can use. But then you can actually build, because I was trying to do a bleed build with movement, because that's how bleed is triggered in this game. And but him being on the team just kind of didn't allow me to synergize with more units. I had to just somehow work around with 2, and sometimes the enemy will get 4 units, and it just feels like I'm at a disadvantage. And so if they allowed you to move him out or did the trainer differently, I think it'd be a much better game. But in the state that it's in, it's still fun and I still enjoyed it, and I might still look into it, but I just think it could be improved way more. And then next we got this game called Micro Relic, and this one, seeing the trailer, they said that it was inspired by Bionicle, which is why I was so excited for it, because I used to have a ton of Bionicles. I still have them, but this is a Souls-like, and pretty much you're a mushroom that infects like a robot or something, and that's kind of all the story I got from it. You're just a mushroom, and then you start playing, and it, it is a Souls-like. You have to make sure you're watching your timing, you're dodging, and you take a lot of damage if you're not careful. And then you drop your mycelium or whatever. I forgot what they called it. But if you die, you drop your resources. You have to go back and get them. And if you die again, then it's gone. But I do like that this game has co-op. I played it alone, but it probably would have been way easier if I had co-op. This final boss gave me some trouble. But the hitboxes, they're not as inconsistent as the other game that I was talking about, but I feel like they could be a lot better in the movement. It feels a little like very slow and clunky, which isn't the worst, because you just have to be careful with your timing and stuff. But it does feel like it's too slow, too clunky, and like some moves are just way overdrawn out. But overall, it was still fun. And then after Micro Relic, we have Rogue Eclipse. And so this is another game that doesn't really have a story, but the movement and the controls are super smooth and really fun. But it does also get pretty repetitive. You're pretty much doing the same level over and over again, but basically you're this spaceship, you're in space, and you're fighting other spaceships, and there's different weapons and like chassis and wings and upgrades and different ways that you can customize your build. Some you can do like all movement speed sort of thing, so you move way faster but you have a lot less health, or you can become a little tankier, you move slower, more health, this and that. But then you have like rockets and rail guns and whatever different weapons you want to choose, and as you play you unlock more. But yeah, the main thing is the movement feels super smooth, and it was a ton of fun playing it, but it just got repetitive and like no story. But if this game is pretty cheap, I'd probably still get it, because it was just satisfying to play and blow up the enemy units and spaceships and stuff. And finally, on our list for B tiers, we have Voyagers of Nera. This is a game that almost made it to A tier, but I think they still need to polish some things out. But it's like a exploration, crafting, survival, kind of like I guess Pal World, stuff like that. But pretty much you're out on the ocean and you help spirits and you find spirits, and then they give you different abilities. You have a boat. I guess this is supposed to be one of the main things, because there's a lot of surfing and boat and water in this game, but there's a lot of exploration to be done, and the movement is pretty smooth, but it's also a little clunky, a little heavy. But this is supposed to be meant to be played with other people. Again, I played alone, but there's like house crafting and building and pretty much anything you'd find in a survival crafting game. And I feel like there was a decent amount, like the map was pretty big or decent size, and it had a good amount of points of interest that you could find. And I felt like I was, there was stuff to do pretty much everywhere. But this is a game that I feel like you need to play with someone else. But even then, probably not. I just think they need to polish it up a little more, and it'd be a pretty strong game. And that moves us up to A tier right here. We have 2 games. First one being My Card is Better Than Your Card. And this game honestly caught me super off guard. I thought this game was going to be super simple, pretty lame, pretty whack. I was trying to say whack and lame at the same thing. And I thought it was just kind of like a super basic card game. It's gonna get old in like 5 minutes. But then you start playing, and this is, another deck builder, kind of Slay the Spire. You choose different days, you do different things. There's shops, there's enemies, there's events. And the cool thing is, here, I have to pause it. Here, at the end of the day, because there's like 7 days before you fight the boss, which is, a big kid or whatever. Um, Again, you buy different stickers, you can trade stickers to other people, you find them at the end of fights. But the thing is, when you get to this last screen of the day, or the last event of the day, it shows you all your stickers that you have in your sticker book, and then on the bottom it shows you the cards you have. And in most deck builders and roguelikes or whatever, specifically deck builders, when you get a card, you can't change it, or you can upgrade it. Maybe you can tweak the effect a tiny bit, or you can remove the card if you don't like the synergy it has on your deck. But in this game, you can remove every single sticker on every single card, and you can customize it, and you can put the things. Every single sticker costs a different amount of candy, which is your mana, resource, whatever you want to call it. And you can also arrange the order in which things happen. So the stack goes in different ways. So I was doing a bug build. There's different like tokens and like things that you can use to your advantage. And some things like the poop here, it would cast a bug, and so you'd have more bugs on the screen. And then there's another one that would eat the bugs and give you points for the bugs. So you could do poop, and the other thing eat 3 of the bugs, and then that all costs 3. And then there's also these candy things which reduce the cost, so you can do the super strong card, and then you can split the card into different things. Use I don't know, the customization was crazy. And then I was doing a bug build, but then you see that there's a ton of different like types of builds, because the main way to get points is stars, and you can do like an all stars build, or you can do bugs like I did. You can do fish, and then I found out if you beat the first boss, then you unlock cars, and then there's like animals. Like there's so many stickers and so much customization, and I was super surprised with this game. I'm 100% gonna get it, and I'm looking forward to playing it because of how many different ways you can play it. I do feel like it's not as good as some of the other card builders that I've got played, but it's definitely something that I want to beat and play. And maybe it does become one of my top deck builders, but that's this game, and I think it's worth it. I think it's fun. I think it's worth giving it a try. And then finally for A tier, we have Aethermancer. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I like deck builders, I like roguelites, I like customization and, you know, synergies and stuff. And this is another one. This one kind of plays like Pokemon, or like cassette beasts if you haven't played cassette beasts. You have different units who have different traits, and some are tanks, some are damage dealers. But the thing is, or people are saying Monster Sanctuary is similar to this one. I've never played that game, but now I need to. But the cool thing is, if you have a unit that's a tank, it's not just a tank. Usually they have 3 different traits. So one could be tank, one is fire, one is dodge. So what you could do is you could get the tank who's just naturally has more health. But if you're doing a burn build, like you get that fire wolf, you do burn damage straight, and then you do burn with this guy who's also sort of a support. So you can have a fire support, fire tank, and fire damage dealer, and gear them all towards burn damage. Or you can do just a straight up whatever damage dealer, whatever healer, and whatever tank. And you don't even need all 3. You can do all 3 tanks, all 3 damage dealers, all 3 supports, but you can build them in different ways. And then there's different items that you can give them. There's stores. You can level up with different experience, and every single time you do a new run with the same character, they gain overall experience across the runs. And when you encounter different monsters, you can stagger them, and then that allows you to capture them, which means you can summon them in the future for different runs, or you can even start with them. And I think he's gonna capture them right now, or maybe not. He just killed them. But basically, when they get started, you can capture them, and I think there's so much customization in this game, and like building around teams and what you want to do and ways you want to build your team. And that brings us to S tier, which I actually have no games in S tier or double S tier. But that is my take on the Secret Sauce Open Sauce Games Showcase that happened for 2025. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if you've played or plan on playing any of these demos, or for that matter, any of these games when they release. I definitely think that you should play both games in A tier and strongly consider anything in B tier. But that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next review.